I think America must see that riots do not develop out of thin air. But in the final analysis, a riot is the language of the unheard.
Imagine, if you will, a world in which you have people who are paid by taxpayers who are notorious for abusing those same taxpayers. And then those people are revered as heroes despite all the evidence to the contrary. And it's almost like these people are being treated like Pokemon, except this is the Akron Police Department in Ohio. And these are not Pokemon because Pokemon are cute and cuddly. No, instead, these are policemen, and I want to tell you all about them, acabdevil style. So prepare for trouble and make it double. And Skeleton Man, give me a Pokemon beat. And let's start off with everybody's favorite subject, which is money. And the Akron Police Department is very well funded. In fact, they are so well funded that the Akron Police Department in 2019 had a budget of almost $57 million, which is almost $20 million more than the Akron Fire Department, and the city of Akron only gave public health a fraction of that funding. And you would think that with that kind of funding, that the city of Akron wouldn't have issues with bringing on police officers who happen to be black. But the problem with that is, for the longest time now, the Akron Police Department has been overrepresented by white officers. And that probably explains why the Akron Police Department has so many issues with black people. Like, for example, back in 2021, you had an Akron police officer named John Turnier who encountered a black man by the name of Charles Hicks back on February the 7th of 2021. And during an arrest, and while Charles Hicks was face down on the ground, John Turnier decided to put snow in front of his face so that he could not breathe. And you've even had black whistleblowers who were known to talk smack about their own department who say that they were targeted by the Akron Police Department. And so Douglas Prady was convicted of something horrible back in 1998, and he is alleging that the Akron Police Department, who he used to work for as a police captain, framed him for a crime that he never committed because, as usual, this man is a black whistleblower, and black whistleblowers are always silenced. And I believe him because the Ohio Innocence Project has said that DNA evidence has cleared him, but the Ohio courts refuse to hear the case, and they would rather an innocent man remain behind bars, because whenever someone goes against law enforcement in Ohio, even a police officer, they are silenced by the courts or by the cops. And I'm not sure how in the world do you have new evidence in a case, and therefore we are unsure if this man is guilty or not. He is claiming to be a whistleblower, and yet the courts refuse to hear the case because the courts are saying that the new evidence wouldn't change anyone's mind, and if they're gonna make that determination without a jury making that determination, then I'm not sure what exactly is the point in having juries. And this is especially odd given the fact that the then police chief of Akron Police during the time of Douglas Prade's criminal conviction was James Nice. And James Nice was a former FBI agent who became the chief of Akron Police. And James Nice said that Douglas Prade was lying about the claims of retaliation because Douglas Prade was a whistleblower. Well, the problem with that is, some years later, we find out that James Nice was convicted of several crimes because his nephew allegedly forged a car title, and James Nice was accused of trying to help out his nephew. And what makes James Nice's comments during the whole Douglas Prade saga even more interesting is that just like Douglas Prade, James Nice also filed a lawsuit against the city of Akron alleging retaliation because he wouldn't show loyalty to a certain politician. And so if the man who said that Douglas Prade was lying turns out to go down the same path as Douglas Prade, and that same man is also being accused of being corrupt corrupt, well then it begs the question, was Douglas Prague correct the whole time? And do we have an innocent man behind bars right now? Because we can see that the accusations of racism were certainly true, given that James Nice not only had to resign because of the criminal case, but he also said something that was pretty racist. And also, I think that we can all agree that you probably shouldn't have inappropriate relationships with your insubordinates. And the misconduct with the Akron policeman does not end there. Like, for example, back in 2018, you had a very problematic Akron police officer by the name of Natalie Tassone. And this officer assaulted a citizen over what I think most people would call a very minor offense. But this is not this officer's first time doing stuff like this, because back in 2016, the Ohio Supreme Court affirmed twice that this officer violated someone's Fourth Amendment rights, and yet that ruling was not used to prosecute this officer. And sometimes the body cameras of these vicious policemen reveals their true nature. Like, for example, in 2019, a former Akron police officer whose name is Mark Northrup resigned from his position because his own body camera showed that he was assaulting a citizen and utilizing excessive force. And it turns out that it is not his first time assaulting citizens and engaging in misconduct, which now you're starting to see a bit of a pattern. And I mean, the hits just keep coming. Like, for example, in 2016, you had an Akron police officer who was using the police database to stalk his ex-girlfriend. And so now that you've seen all the corruption within the Akron Police Department, you can see that people are not just upset about the fatal shooting of Jalen Walker, because there were a whole lot of issues before that event. And what happened to Jalen Walker was just a straw that broke the camel's back.
There is a pattern.
Extreme police corruption.
Arrivederci.